Lost City of Atlantis. Truth or just a myth? Imagine a civilization so advanced that it feels like it does not belong to human history as we understand it today, but instead feels like a forgotten chapter of Earth itself that was erased before it could be fully recorded. A place where technology appears beyond imagination, where massive glowing cities rise above oceans or coastal lands, where energy systems seem to flow through unknown principles, and where ships move across vast waters with speed and precision far ahead of their time. A civilization so powerful that it could reshape its environment, control vast regions, and possibly influence entire generations of surrounding societies. And then, one day, without warning, without explanation, without any recorded survival story, it simply disappears. No survivors to describe what happened, no confirmed ruins to prove its existence, no clear archaeological evidence that can fully confirm the story. Only silence remains where a civilization once stood. This is the story of Atlantis, one of the most mysterious legends in human history, surviving for more than 2000 years through philosophy, storytelling, and cultural imagination. A story that continues to confuse historians, inspire writers, and challenge scientists. And even today, after centuries of research and exploration, one question still remains unanswered. Was Atlantis real, or just the greatest myth ever created by humanity? Our journey begins in ancient Greece, more than 2,300 years ago, with a philosopher named Plato. Plato is one of the most influential thinkers in human civilization, known for shaping philosophy, politics, and logic. He recorded the story of Atlantis in two of his famous works, Timaeus and Critias. According to Plato, the story was not something he invented from imagination alone. He claimed that it was passed down to him through Egyptian priests, who themselves preserved knowledge of ancient civilizations that existed long before recorded Greek history began. These priests, according to Plato, described Atlantis as a real place that once existed far beyond the known world of their time. Plato described Atlantis as a massive island empire located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, a term that modern historians associate with the Strait of Gibraltar, the narrow passage between Europe and Africa that connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. In his writings, Atlantis was not just an island, it was described as a super civilization, larger than Libya and Asia combined according to his account. It was an empire of enormous scale, influence, and complexity. The Atlanteans were described as highly intelligent, highly disciplined, and highly organized people in their early civilization stage. Their society was built on structure, balance, and advanced planning. The capital city of Atlantis was designed in a unique and extremely precise architectural pattern, a series of concentric circular rings alternating between land and water. These rings were connected through canals, bridges, and transportation routes that allowed movement across the entire city in a highly efficient system. At the very center of this structure stood a royal complex, surrounded by temples, administrative buildings, and structures made from rare materials including metals that reflected light in unusual ways. The design of the city suggests not only artistic intelligence, but also engineering concepts that feel advanced even by modern standards. The harbors of Atlantis were described as extremely active, filled with ships from different regions, suggesting strong naval power and global trade influence. Agriculture was highly developed, with fertile land producing abundant food that supported a large population. The society functioned under a strict system of laws believed to be inspired by divine principles, ensuring order, discipline, and harmony among citizens. For many generations, Atlantis flourished. It was described as a golden civilization, powerful, wealthy, stable, and highly advanced. But according to Plato, this golden age did not remain forever. Over time, the nature of the civilization began to shift. Slowly, the balance that once held Atlantis together started to weaken. Power turned into control. Wealth turned into obsession. Success turned into pride. The rulers who once governed with wisdom began to prioritize expansion, dominance, and influence over balance and responsibility. The moral foundation of the civilization began to collapse from within. Atlantis, once a symbol of order, gradually transformed into a civilization driven by ambition without limits. Plato suggested that Atlantis did not fall because of an external enemy or invasion. It fell because of itself. A society that became too powerful, too proud, and too disconnected from the principles that originally created its strength. Then came the final moment of destruction. Plato described it as a catastrophic event that occurred in a single day and night of misfortune. In this short period of time, Atlantis disappeared completely beneath the ocean. The scale of destruction is difficult to imagine even today. Massive earthquakes shaking the ground violently. Coastal regions collapsing into the sea. Tsunami waves moving across land without resistance. Entire cities breaking apart and sinking into darkness. Structures that once stood for centuries disappearing within moments. And then, complete silence. A civilization that once dominated its region vanished without leaving a confirmed trace in history. No verified survivors, no direct historical records from nearby civilizations, no physical proof that can definitively confirm the event. Only a story that survived through philosophical writing and oral tradition. This sudden disappearance is one of the main reasons Atlantis remains one of the greatest mysteries ever studied by humans. For centuries, explorers, archaeologists, and researchers have searched across oceans and continents trying to locate Atlantis. Expeditions have been conducted in the Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, and even far beyond traditional ancient maps. But despite all efforts, Atlantis has never been conclusively found. Because of this, many scholars believe Atlantis was never intended to be understood as a literal physical place. Instead, they argue that Plato created it as a philosophical allegory, a symbolic story designed to teach lessons about civilizations, morality, and power. A warning about what happens when intelligence is not balanced with wisdom. A reflection of how even the most powerful societies can collapse from within. However, not all researchers agree with this interpretation. Some believe that the story of Atlantis may have been inspired by real historical disasters that existed in ancient times. One of the strongest theories connects Atlantis to the volcanic eruption of Santorini, also known as Thera. Around 1600 BCE, this volcano erupted with massive force, one of the most powerful volcanic events in recorded geological history. Entire civilizations in the surrounding region, especially the Minoan civilization, were heavily affected or destroyed. Ash clouds blocked sunlight for long periods. Massive tsunamis struck coastal cities. Entire cultural centers were wiped out or severely damaged. This event shows how a powerful civilization can collapse suddenly due to natural forces. Another theory refers to Doggerland, a prehistoric landmass that once connected Britain to mainland Europe. This region contained forests, rivers, animals, and early human settlements. But as the last ice age ended and sea levels gradually rose, Doggerland slowly disappeared beneath the North Sea. Although it was not destroyed instantly, it still represents a real example of a lost world beneath water. These examples suggest that while Atlantis may not be directly proven, the idea of lost civilizations is not impossible. History shows that nature has the power to erase entire worlds over time. Over centuries, Atlantis evolved from a philosophical idea into a global cultural symbol. Writers, filmmakers, and artists reimagined it as a glowing underwater kingdom filled with advanced technology, hidden knowledge, and mysterious energy sources. In modern storytelling, Atlantis represents curiosity, discovery, and the unknown potential of human history. Even today, the mystery continues to fascinate researchers and audiences alike. The ocean covers more than 70% of Earth's surface, and a large portion of it remains unexplored even with modern technology. Advanced sonar systems and underwater mapping have revealed strange formations beneath the ocean floor. But most of these structures are natural geological formations shaped over millions of years. Still, they continue to inspire imagination and speculation. The question still remains alive in human thought and curiosity. What if something still exists beneath the deep ocean? What if Atlantis is not completely lost, but simply undiscovered? Or maybe Atlantis was never meant to be a physical civilization at all. Maybe it exists only as a story that teaches humanity about itself. Or maybe, in the deepest silent parts of the ocean, traces of an ancient world still remain, hidden from modern discovery, until science provides a final and undeniable answer. Atlantis will continue to exist between myth and reality, a mystery that refuses to fade with time, a legend that continues to inspire generations, and a question that will always remain part of human curiosity. Was Atlantis ever real? Or is it simply the greatest story humanity has ever created?